Over the years I developed a bond with everyone in my town, and one of them was a young woman I came to be very fond of, and her name was Roxanne Simpson. And unlike the original storyline, I wouldn't be striking any deals with Mephisto, but I did get Roxanne Simpson pregnant, and I started having flashbacks of my previous life, of me doing everything I can to prevent demons from killing my wife and children. And then when my first child was born, I couldn't help but cry, but I knew, like me, my son is powerful, and I said, "Don't worry, everything will be alright, Roxanne Simpson," and I kissed her forehead and she said, "I love you, Johnny Blaze," and I healed her very fast. And after a while, two people showed up at my house, and I knew exactly who they were from my previous life. Before I started an eternity fighting demons, I knew all about the MCU, and I know who Professor Xavier and Magneto is because even I read Marvel comics and I watched all the MCU movies in my previous life. That's right, in my universe we once had all that before my war with the demon scum. And as I was making my own motorcycle, I asked them both, "Can I help you, gentlemen?" And then Professor Xavier said, "Oh, I should hope so, young man, and you're very unique, aren't you?" And then I said, "I know who you are, Professor Charles Xavier, and for now I can't go with you." And then Magneto said, "How interesting." And then I said, "Max, that's your original name, isn't it? Or at least it was before your parents were murdered by a Nazi bastard." And Magneto said loudly, "How do you know that name? No one knows that name." And then I said, "I'm not like the mutants, you know. No, I'm more powerful than the both of you can imagine." And then I transformed into Spirit Justice, and my Predator suit attached to my entire body, and then the Soul Cube appeared and started talking, and it said, "Threat level metahumans, should I kill them, boss?" And I said, "No, they're good men, and I'd rather not kill innocent people." And then Charles Xavier said, "I beg you, please join the X-Men. You could do a world of good in the X-Men." And then I said, "Not yet, Professor Xavier. First I want to be a Marine, and then if I come back alive, then I'll join the X-Men." And then just like I said I joined the military, but my wife Roxanne Simpson learned of my powers years ago, so I left behind a gift for her. My magical clone would always keep her company. Unlike my previous life, I chose to be a combat medic. Far away from killing people, I became a doctor, and I secretly also healed people with my incredible powers, but I always used real medical skills so no one else in the military would be suspicious of me and my powers. And I also saved many soldiers without them ever knowing it, but I was wrong. Someone found out, and that someone was a younger Nick Fury. The year Nick Fury met me was the year before he met Carol Danvers. I healed Nick Fury when he was shot in the stomach, and I didn't have my medical equipment, so I had to use my powers. And I said, "You can't tell anyone else that I did this because the military will try to use me as a lab rat." And then Nick Fury said, "Okay, soldier, I won't say anything," but he lied, and he told SHIELD and the CIA the truth about me. And then Nick Fury said, "I'm sorry, soldier, but I had to tell someone." And then I said, "Now what?" And then Nick Fury said, "Oh, nothing. We are not going to use you as a lab rat, as you so eloquently put it. No, instead you will come work for me and SHIELD. But first I need you to help one of my team members." And then in walked a young Natasha Romanoff, otherwise known as the Black Widow. And then Nick Fury said, "I want you to heal her, please, and also do it fast because we have a lot of good work to do, soldier." And then I healed Natasha Romanoff completely, and I said her sexual reproductive organs are completely restored and all her injuries are healed. And then Natasha Romanoff looked at me with love in her eyes and tears rolled down her cheeks, and she said, "Thank you, handsome." And I actually look like Doom Guy from the new Doom Dark Ages game. And then I said, "I don't kill innocent people." And then Nick Fury said, "Relax, kid, we are the good guys, but we do also fight the bad guys, and we just want you to continue doing what you're doing, but now you also work for us and you feed us intelligence, and we make sure you get sent back home to your wife sooner rather than later." And then I smiled warmly and I said, "Thank you." And then Nick Fury said, "I'll see you soon, kid." And then I was sent on many missions to rescue captured soldiers, and I even earned the Medal of Honor and the Purple Heart for saving people and captured soldiers. And then I had finally used up all the years on my military contract, and I took my walking papers and I went back home. But Nick Fury decided to get a SHIELD helicarrier, and I was now being sent on a top secret mission to find aliens and a woman named Carol Danvers. And then I said, "You're not serious?" And then Nick Fury said, "I'm as serious as a heart attack, kid. I just met this woman recently and she needs help."